we continue in worship this morning, I'd like to invite Gaylon Layfield forward, who will introduce a new initiative in the life of our church.
Good morning. I'm excited to introduce a new initiative for First Presbyterian Church, Planned Giving. I'm hoping you had a peek at the brochure we handed out on your way into sanctuary this morning and already know that we have selected the name of the first fund to represent this effort. So what is Planned Giving and why are we undertaking this bold initiative? A planned gift or commitment is a contribution that is arranged in the present and actually given at a later date. Planned gifts are most often donated through a will or a trust after the donor has passed away. We won't talk about that part. So why this effort? For the last 2 years, a couple of committees, in very good Presbyterian form under the direction of the session, has been thinking strategically about stewardship broadly at First Presbyterian. What we have determined by studying both large churches and historic churches like ours, as well as many other philanthropic organizations, is that there are fundamentally 3 legs to the stewardship stool. The first is an annual giving component. For us, our yearly focused effort to raise the funds to support the planned budget. We've done this well for 200 plus years. The second leg is a periodic capital campaign, usually designed to fund buildings or other large capital projects or special initiatives. In 1950, a capital campaign supported the construction of this sanctuary. We raised $350,000. We couldn't do air conditioning. We didn't raise enough for that. And no, I don't really remember this. I just read it in the book that Jack Sadler and Jay Johnston put together. Our last capital campaign was Faith in Action. In 2002, we raised $3.1 million, half of which went to renovations across the church properties. The other half went to 9 special targeted mission projects across our community and internationally. The third leg of this stool is planned giving. Today's focus is an emphasis on legacy gifts that increase the church's endowment resources that serve to perpetuate and expand the mission of our church beyond our lifetimes. Until now, First Presbyterian has never focused explicitly on planned gifts. We have certainly been the beneficiary of numerous gifts, generous gifts, but those gifts were made without any focused effort, education, or encouragement by either our leadership or our membership. As we move into the 3rd century of this church, it is important that we add this 3rd leg of stewardship to our stool. The initiation of this effort demands a patient and a long-term mindset. This is not an overnight sensation. In many ways, not unlike the faith journey that most of us experience. As our faith matures, a natural outcome in many cases is to consider ways to perpetuate the role of the church in our families, community, and mission programs. It provides a helpful way to facilitate a conversation about what's important for each of us as we consider the question of our legacy. I'm especially pleased to tell you that as of this morning, with very little conversation about this subject, we have already received 8 new commitments by our members to a planned gift. It's important to recognize each and every gift to the First Fund. First, some of you may have already made a commitment to First Presbyterian through your will or a trust. Please tell us about that. We'd like to count you among the First Fund contributors and supporters. And second, this is important, planned giving is an outcome of our individual faith journeys and consideration of our desires about leaving a legacy of support for what has been important in our lives and what we hope will continue to be important for generations to come. Whether a gift is large or small is not the focus. Rather, it is a commitment to something incredibly meaningful and important in our lives. As we continue to develop important initiatives. We will provide educational opportunities, fellowship events, opportunities for conversation, and effective today, there's a landing page on our website with materials about planned giving, and that's just a start. Planned giving is an investment in the future. It represents our desire and commitment to provide permanent funding to sustain and, importantly, over time, expand the scope of First Presbyterian Church's support for our membership, our families, our communities, and the people we serve. It's an act of faith, faith in God and the importance of perpetuating the awareness and understanding of His presence for eternity. It's an act of faith to entrust our wealth and our wishes to the future generations of leaders at First Presbyterian. Faith that a vibrant and growing First Presbyterian, as it has been for the last 200 years, is crucial for the next 200 years to the continuing existence of the influence of Christ in our midst, both right here in Richmond and across God's universe. We're both challenged and capable of delivering on this vision. I ask you to prayerfully consider a commitment to the First Fund. Following church, those of us who are on the Planned Giving Committee will be at Lemonade in the Hall, and we have some additional materials and are happy to answer questions about this important initiative. And now on this day of Pentecost, as is our practice, it is time for us to share with God a portion of our gifts to further His kingdom.